Okay. Okay, I'm gonna time limit myself, Spoon. Okay? I am promising. In fact, I'm so time limited, I'm gonna put a timer on. Okay? When I start talking about what I've seen in the game, I'll put a 5-minute timer on. Because I'm so concerned I could talk about this for way too long. Okay. So first, let's just go through the reviews, and then I've got my timer ready to start. Okay? And I'll be fair to my timer. 63. Are you surprised?
No, I
Good.
mean we predicted this like 2 weeks ago. We're like, what do you think the reviews for the Suicide Squad is gonna be? I'm like, yeah, I'm like 60s, I think.
60s.
And that's what it is. It's low 60s. It was 60 when it initially came out. There were only 8 reviews. Now we're up to 16 reviews. I guess they got some higher ones in there, so it's 63 now. Like,
okay. So these are the reviews. Timer's on. You can't see it because of the blur, but it's 5 minutes. Okay, I'm ready. Okay. Here's what I've seen of the Suicide Squad so far. Here's my first impressions on the game. The movement, I think, is really nice, particularly if you play as King Shark. The movement as King Shark is fantastic. The worst movement I've seen is actually Boomerang. I think his concept is cool. He throws a boomerang and teleports to it. But when you start... I've heard people say when you start playing it, it gets a little bit clunky in practice. So overall, the movement's
like,
really good.
Everyone I've seen playing this game has been playing King Shark. I haven't seen like any other.
Because his movement feels the best. You're like the Hulk. You basically play as the Hulk. So King Shark is the most fun for movement. For combat, the combat in this game is really, really, really poor. I'm not even going to sum the whole thing up like with just like a whole spiel about it. But what you get in the combat is you can shoot your gun. You can shoot certain areas of the enemy to produce shield pickups. You don't naturally regain your shields. And you don't naturally regain your health, it seems like. You have to, like, do certain actions in combat, hit legs to produce shields. That's it. You get a couple combo moves. Oh, and there's, like, a skill point system. But from what I've seen of it, it looks super... It seems, like, intricate. It looks like a Borderlands kind of skill tree.
What I've seen, it looks hella generic.
It looks super... It's super generic, though. So let's just ignore that. That's, like, not great. Seeing it, not great. The beginning of this game, the way these guys get a lot of their weapons and equipment, they go to the Hall of Justice, which is where the Justice League is, and the lobby of the Hall of Justice is like a museum to the public. For whatever reason, by the way, the Justice League has Batman, so we know they're not stupid people. They put all the gear that these guys use to do their traversal. Captain Boomerang gets like a gauntlet to use similar speed to Flash. They put it in a glass case that's easily breakable in this museum public entrance. Let this set the tone for how stupid some of these things are going to be. That is like the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. You have like Batman in your group. He would have been the first to say that's probably not the best idea. It's probably not the best idea to put all this ultra powerful equipment behind a glass case in a museum. So that's really stupid. There's a couple really good moments in this game, though, with dialogue. Captain Boomerang is my favorite character I've seen. He's very funny in certain spaces. And the first entrance of Batman is probably the best sequence in the game I've seen. The whole crew here enters like a museum or like Arkham kind of museum for Batman. Batman's there. He kills some guards, which freaks you out. And then he blows out the lights. So it's completely dark. So you watch the Suicide Squad navigate this dark museum and are picked off one by Batman. It's like a perfect way to introduce him. And at the same time, because it's Rocksteady, it's all based on the Arkham universe. It's almost like you're playing as the villain and Batman's like picking you off. It's like an interesting contrast to those games. So that was really well done. I'm going to stay on Batman for a second. The Batman boss fight, I think, is the worst Batman boss fight for Batman I think I've ever seen.
I've heard the boss fights in this game, all of them are just atrocious.
They're all bad.
They're just so bad.
And Batman's in particular is the worst. Basically, you have to do like a thing where you flood his room with fear gas from Scarecrow. Okay, I won't even get to that part. It's so dumb. But the boss fight itself is just, it's a big Batman. And he's like one of those generic big giant bosses that's like, it's so bad for a Batman boss. I actually was just stunned. I was like, wow, are we sure this is the same development crew? This is the worst boss fight I've ever seen. It's so generic. I couldn't believe it.
The boss fights in Arkham City were good, right? Because like
They were
one of my
good.
big complaints with Arkham Asylum was that their frickin' repeat boss, like the
Yes.
Hulk thing. I forget what it was called. The experiment like Joker Hulk thing that you
Yeah, the
fought in
Titan.
Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, those aren't very good.
That was bad. That was one of my big complaints with Arkham Asylum. One of my only complaints with Arkham Asylum. But anyways, sorry.
No. City was good. City was really good. All those bosses felt unique to the character. It all felt like, okay, for this character, this is what I expected the boss fight to be. Great job. Like, I expected all these boss fights to be this way. Having, like, a boss fight with just Batman is, like, a giant monster creature that looks like Batman. I was like, yeah, this doesn't work for me.
That doesn't make sense.
Right.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense. So, like, that was 5 minutes. So let's recap. Movement feels good. Let's just start there. +1. Combat is super generic and probably will feel really boring after about 30 minutes. -. I've actually heard people like the story of this game. I don't. I think the story, from what I've seen, is not very good. The whole story is they kill the Justice League, but at no point in time does the Justice League get a redemption moment. Every member except for Wonder Woman is mind controlled by Brainiac. So you've already sold the fact that you know who the main villain is. You already have the entire premise in your head. They're killing the Justice League. They kill the Justice League members, and none of the members really get a moment of like, I can redeem myself against Brainiac because you mind controlled me. I've heard some people be like, this is a good story. I'm like, is it? This sounds like the worst comic book story I've ever heard of.
I heard that like the first half of the story is pretty good, and the end is just like the second half is just falls apart and it's just absolute dog shit.
Like I like the idea of being the villains and like the Justice League is evil. I like it.
Yeah, I mean
that's fine, but
yeah.
And like,
but also like,
okay.
In this game, it's kill the Justice League, and like it's about, okay, we're gonna fight Batman, we're gonna fight Superman, we're gonna fight Green Lantern, we're gonna fight Flash, all these like cool superheroes who you usually play as or like are good guys, and you don't usually fight them. Cool, and it's kill the Justice League. And then the thing that they fucked up the most was the boss fights. All the boss fights against the Justice League are terrible. Are dog shit.
They're all terrible.
How do you fuck that? How do you fuck that up in this game? I don't get it. Like
I don't know. It's weird. Like when I see this, I don't think the story is good. I've heard people say it's good, and you know what? I could see somebody thinking this is like a cool story just from the fact that you're playing as the villain, and seeing the Justice League members be evil in some cases is good. Like the Flash being evil is pretty good. Batman being evil is a really cool concept that I think they mostly hit, except for the boss fight.
Yeah.
It's funny that Wonder Woman's the only one that did get mind controlled. I feel like Batman would be the only one that didn't get mind controlled, or the Flash. The Flash like goes in and out of mind control. I think he starts not mind controlled, which I actually think makes sense because he's probably just too fast to be mind controlled. He like escapes too quickly. And he's hard to like, he can like go through walls. He's hard to go after. Superman would be the first to be mind controlled. He'd be the first.
Yeah, because he'd just charge in guns blazing and be like,
he'd be the first person to be mind controlled to me, and so would Wonder Woman, actually. Wonder Woman is also, like, to me, while smarter and a little bit more careful, does go in a lot. Batman would be the one I wouldn't think would get mind controlled. I don't know about Green Lantern. Green Lantern wild card there, but Flash also. So, okay, most of the Justice League get mind controlled, and your job is to kill them, but, like, there was something off to me about all the ways that they died. Here's one example of that. I'm past the timer, but I really need to say this example. They kill the Flash. After killing the Flash, Boomerang pees on the Flash's corpse. Like,
what?
To me, I was like, okay, I get it. They're villains. They're scumbags. But I don't think any of them would do that. I mean, like, they're scumbags, but none of them's gonna pee on a corpse. Like,
yeah, that's a little much. That's a little much.
It was overkill. Like, it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, that's not even funny. I'm like, this isn't even funny. Who wrote this? Like a 2-year-old? Not even 2-year-old, like a 10-year-old. Like, it's so dumb. And then there's a moment, too, where this is kind of like a comic book specific thing, so I wouldn't get if people weren't on this, but apparently King Shark is able to put on the Green Lantern ring, which, look, I'm not going to give into the whole comic book thing on this, but that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. That is not how that all works. That you can't just put the ring on, like, it doesn't work like that. It's a very specific set of like rules, the way that this all works. So like they have like King Shark put on the ring and it's all like this, and like, okay, that's not really how this works. I have like some sense of how the ring works, so that doesn't really vibe with me. I don't really get that. I'm not buying it. So I think that the dialogue is pretty good, and I think the movement's good. I actually do like the dialogue between the Suicide Squad. It can be funny.
Too. I've heard the banter's pretty good.
I've definitely laughed a couple times. There's one sequence in particular in the dialogue where Boomerang is lassoed and Wonder Woman's like on top of him, stepping on him, holding him down to question him. And out of the corner, it's just like Harley Quinn's just like, you can step on me next. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, that's pretty good. And like Boomerang's pretty funny at times. The character models are very good too, by the way. And I like Captain Boomerang's outfit in particular. His outfit's really good. His outfit was very well done. Whoever did Boomerang's design did a great job. That's like my favorite outfit of the whole game. They did such a good job with him.
I want to go back to the Boomerang peeing on Flash thing. I don't know these characters that well, so I don't know if does Boomerang have like a connection to Flash in some way?
So yeah, I mean like he's Flash's antagonist. So
okay,
he's the villain. He's one of Flash's villains, and I don't know too much about Boomerang, but I haven't really seen a lot of villains just like, okay, I'm just gonna pee on the corpse kind of mentality. There are some villains that just outright respect the hero. They're like, okay, I just respect you enough where I'm not gonna do that.
I don't know these characters that well. I'm not that into like the comic book lore, but like I can definitely see not like peeing on him, but like I can see Harley like bashing, like after Batman's dead, her just like beating the fuck out of his skull with her bat or something like that, right?
And
I can see that, but like, I don't know, like peeing on a corpse it's
too much. So
for me.
So that like I saw that in the game, I was like, okay, you're turning me off here. This is really bad. It would have been good if it was like he's dead and Boomerang's like kind of kicking him while he's down.
Yeah, sure.
I would have bought that. Like, yeah. Like, he's going to do that. He's like, finally, I'm rid of you, you piece of shit. I can do whatever I want. Yeah. And then there's also the idea a lot of times with villains where they're like, oh, they're dead. Like, who's going to stop me? This is boring. It would have been interesting if they had a sequence in the game where the Justice League members start to be picked off and dying, and then they just like randomly loot a bank or whatever. And then they're like, wait, no one's stopping us. This is weird. Like, I don't know how I feel about this. They've had villains with moments where, like, the biggest one is, like, Joker Batman, where Joker always tells him, I get so bored without you. I would feel like it would have been cool to see that in a game where it's like, oh, this is way too easy. Like, it's just so easy for me to rob this bank. And the villains get together like, yeah, that was way too easy. Like, and then they get bored after a while. They're like, oh, well, it's no fun if there's no competition to stop us. So there was a lot of missed beats that I didn't get. There was no Justice League, like each member gets a little redemption before they die. It would have been interesting if like the member was like, oh, you beat me. Like, we're not like, there's been stories of like the villains and the heroes team up against a bigger threat. Brainiac would have been one of those moments where I could have seen them like teaming up and a Justice League member died while trying to help defeat Brainiac. That would have been a great hit for me. I would have been totally in and be like, yeah, like they don't necessarily kill the Justice League member themselves, but they like do a short team up. And then while taking out Brainiac, the bigger threat, the Justice League member dies. Like Superman dies while helping take out Brainiac. Yeah, I would have vibed with that if that was a story. It would have been, if that was the story, I might have considered getting the game on a sale because I think that would have been really fun to like experience the whole story of that. But there's just too many misses for me. Like on the story, like people have complained about, oh, Batman dies in such an unceremonious way. I don't really mind that too much. But none of the Justice League members get any sort of redemption. They all just die unceremoniously, like each one. And it's like the way you kill them isn't particularly cool. So I'm like, oh.
I mean,
well,
again, the subtitle of the game is Kill the Justice League, and it seems like that part they fucked up the most, like the boss fights and then kind of like the actual death of the
Right.
Justice League members. Again, whether you're doing like the redemption thing or like you got to make their death a little more like epic and like
Right.
it's like, it's Batman, it's Superman, it's
Yeah.
Flash, like,
I
The other thing, by the way, I've seen with this game is that like every time I've watched this game, okay, I don't know about it. That's a little reductive, but a lot of the times I've seen this game, they're doing this same truck escort mission like
Yeah, oh,
every
don't get me
fucking time.
started on that.
Like
I didn't even want to touch
how many
that, but
times
holy
we
shit.
gotta we gotta escort the same truck? Like the missions just seem so bad.
Holy shit. Don't even get me started with the missions. I watched a stream and they did the same Ivy Protect the Plants mission, and I was going crazy. Like, why is this a thing? My last point on this, and I'm way above the timer, but my last point on this is like, this would have just been a better Guardians of the Galaxy kind of game. This just should have been a single player experience. Each member of the Suicide Squad has a completely unique kit. All of them play the same way from what I've seen. And if somebody wants to contest me, fine. But play the game. I've watched it. I just watch it. They all use guns. They all do the same kind of thing to try and get their shields and health back. The only difference is like King Shark is big and physical, and so he can like do this dive bomb attack. Boomerang has a boomerang. Like, it's not unique enough for me to feel like, okay, these are different characters. They all look and play very similarly. This would have been a great Guardians of the Galaxy single player experience. Where like Shark is your tank. He's Drax in the same way. You have like Harley Quinn's kind of like that weird, mid-range melee pistol.
She's jack of all trades. Yeah.
Deadshot's your sniper. He's backline sniper. Boomerang is Boomerang. He's throwing his boomerang around. He's got like wild boomerang abilities. He has different types of boomerangs, like explosive, whatever.
He could be like a diver type character as well, with like his teleporting and his speed and stuff.
Could be cool. Like I was like, okay, like they should have done this as a single player experience. The whole time I was watching, I was like, oh, this would have been a great Guardians of the Galaxy kind of game. And the Suicide Squad, I like the concept of too. I actually really like the concept of you're the villains, and like these villains are being controlled by the government to do this, and it's like there's a lot you can do with that. But like when I see this game and I see them putting civilians in a bus, and like it all just wrapped to me going, oh, this is terrible. Oh, this looks terrible.
Here's what I think. This is my reenactment of what happened in the early stages of development of this game. Rocksteady had they're like, all right, so we did the Arkham games. It's been a while since we like made a new thing. We got an idea for a Suicide Squad game. Okay, that's cool. They got this idea, they got the story, whatever. Kill the Justice League, this and that. Single player game. Maybe they have some co-op ideas with the 4 characters or something. Okay, fine. And then WB, the publisher, goes, but what about a live service game? You're turning that into a live service game. Looter shooter, live service game, Suicide Squad, go.
And it's just, and that right there is where I know the publisher came in, WB came in and said, look, we need to make, how much more money can we make if it's a live service? And this should have been a single player experience. There should have been no online enforcement.
That's what Rocksteady does. That's what their previous Arkham games were. They were single player, story driven, a little bit of open world, but even like Arkham Asylum's a little bit like Metroidvania-y, honestly, with the like gadgets and stuff that you unlock.
The games are a little bit like that. Even Arkham City, you have to get more gadgets to go to more areas. Like,
so yeah,
it's
open
an interesting
world,
way,
little bit Metroidvania-y, single player, action, action adventure game, good story, like fun combat, and that's what I've seen in some of the reviews as well. It's like, well, there's some of Rocksteady here. There's like parts of this game with like some of the like the banter and the characters and some of the story that's like good, and then you turned it into an always online like piece of crap looter shooter, and it just doesn't mesh, and it just like doesn't make sense. It's like there's a little bit of that Rocksteady DNA in the game, but they just put all this this live
Right.
service always online crap on top of it, and they're like, this isn't. Again, you can see there's bones of something good there, and they just fucked it up by turning it into a live service.
This would have been an amazing single player experience. I would have been super into that. The reason why live service or always online in this case doesn't work is an hour into early access, they had to pull the game because for some people the game auto completed. Which I'm like, wow. The game for some people, when you boot it up, would just say you beat the story, you beat the game. And so they had to pull it after an hour. But when the servers turn off, you know, I didn't put the video in there. There was a great video. And I'll see if I can track it down at some point and put it in our Discord. There was a great video of a guy who's like, this is why you don't make an always online type of game that feels like a single player game. He plays it for 5 minutes, servers go offline. And he's like, fuck this. Fuck this game. And then just to add on to this as a last thing, IGN specifically, but I do think this was not just IGN, based on the reviews we've seen.
Yeah.
WB did not give out codes.
There's only freaking 16 reviews out for the game. Like,
and I know more people would have reviewed this. So WB just did not give codes out early. They just didn't. I imagine they might have given it to some people, but I think it was a lot of outlets did not get an early code. I mean, 16 feels like really low. Like a Dragon is 94. I know people wanted to review this game. Like 16? So a lot of people did not get codes right away. This game came out yesterday, technically. Not early access version.
Yeah,
early access was
it was either yesterday or 2 days ago. I don't remember.
Early access was like Sunday or something. I don't remember. I don't care. Maybe it was Monday. It was Monday. Monday was early access.
And I think what they said is like, oh, it's, we didn't want to, in order to play it, they had to turn the servers on, and they didn't want to turn the servers on like early or something like that for the early access. But like, again, like D4 is an always online game, and they gave access to those people for a certain amount of time to do their review, and then they shut it down after that. So like, I don't know, like.
No, they knew this game wasn't going to be very good. I mean, IGN gave the preview and said it wasn't very good. I think they got the sense that, okay, the sentiment is not going to be good.
Yeah,
and
like,
so
this game isn't going to review very well.
We need people to like kind of pre-order this thing and play it early. Let's just not let people review it until it actually comes out on the 2nd, which is very scummy. I don't like that practice. I'm like, listen, if your game is not received well, it's not received well. It happens. There will be an audience that will enjoy Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people say, like, I'm pretty sure like JP was streaming this, and I didn't hear what he said, but in his title it said like, enjoying Suicide Squad. Like, there are people that were like enjoyed the game for like what it is. I don't think anyone's saying like this game is like freaking incredible or anything like this, but there are people who will enjoy the game for what it is. Think the combat's pretty fun. Maybe they think the story's good, whatever. So
I think there are definitely people who are. The way that I would put this game is when you're not in the dialogue sequences with the cutscenes, because I mean, for the most part, I've liked them, except for like peeing on a corpse kind of idea. But this is the turn your brain off gameplay loop. You just turn it off, start doing the combat. Just turn it off. If you do that, I think you're going to be okay. And I would say playing with a friend might be fun. I haven't seen that yet with some streams I've watched, but I can imagine if you can get a group together and like just fuck around for like an hour. I don't know, that might be entertaining, like to just mess around. But yeah, you gotta do this. You gotta click this off once the dialogue sequences are over, and then you're good to go. Like you gotta do that. Otherwise, you're just not gonna have a good time. There's probably a really good $10 game for me in here. If I'm like really feeling like just experiencing all the game there has, which I guess is just the like dialogue sequences between the Suicide Squad. But other than that, you just have to turn your brain off and move on. But I have seen people say they enjoy it. There are like defenders of the game. That's fine if you're having a good time.
How long do you think it's gonna take for them to like cancel their roadmap or whatever?
I would suspect Game Pass in about 2 to 3 months, and then I think they'll let this. They already have like a planned drop DLC with like the Joker. I think I've seen this game's Joker. It's really dumb because this is in the same universe, the Arkham universe, but the Joker died in Arkham City. So this is like they did the Joker revived, which is not like a actual they like the comics have done this before where Joker has like a weird way to revive himself. He somehow implants his DNA into another character and it revives him somehow. It's better if I don't try and explain the full thing, but this is actually story.
I'm not even gonna. I'm not gonna touch that.
There's
with football. That is nonsense.
There's a story where one of the Robins gets taken over by the Joker because Joker like puts he injects DNA into one of the Robins. I forget which one, and it like completely like changes him into the Joker. It's weird.
I'm not touching that.
So, I'm not saying it's unheard of, but it's the same universe. The Joker's supposed to be dead, and the first DLC is the Joker character as a playable character, which I'm like, maybe no. You have the Suicide Squad. I think there's more Suicide Squad characters besides the Joker. Well, why didn't you just maybe because it's the Joker, like it's a popular character.
Yeah,
that's how you sell the DLC, but. To your question, I would say 6 months. They'll probably let it ride. They probably had like a 6 months planned out already.
Yeah.
WB's gonna check the numbers and be like, "Ooh, this is not working out. Let's stop." This is like probably 2 to 3 months Game Pass too. I think this will come out in Game Pass in like 2 months. WB will get desperate. They're like, "How do we get people to like buy in?" Well, Game Pass is an easy way to do that. That's what I would do. It just. Yeah.
Will you play it? Will you try this if it goes on Game Pass?
Yeah, I play it on Game Pass. I mean, I would. Okay. I'd buy it for like $10 max. Because I've seen the dialogue. I'd be cool with the dialogue. I'd be cool with the dialogue, but
there's something to like here.
There's something here.
I think this is better than this game is better than Redfall, right?
Oh, absolutely.
There's something to like here. There wasn't much to like at all about Redfall. This game there's something to like.
There's something here. There is something here. I really do like the. Besides the whole like I already mentioned it, like going to the bathroom on a corpse. A lot of other things with the dialogue, I've been like, yeah, this is working for me. I'm liking this, and like some of the cutscenes, I'm really liking. So I could maybe put $10 into that, and just be like, I'll just turn my brain off for the rest of it. Anyway, yeah, Suicide Squad, super. I'm not gonna say disappointing because I kind of knew it wasn't gonna be good.
Yeah, we saw this coming.
But this is just like crazy. Okay, let's keep going. This is in the middle of reviews. I think I put this here for a reason. I think I was just gonna say like, you have this like ginormous game in Suicide Squad, like huge budget game, and then you have Palworld, which is it had a low budget. And a really basic, like kind of a simple concept of Pokemon survival game, and it's gotten over 19 million players, 12 million from Steam, 7 million Xbox, which is really crazy. Yeah, this is Pokemon levels of sales. You're hitting Pokemon now, not there yet.
It's pretty close. I think like Pokemon's like 25 to 30 million for the more recent entries, but yeah, it's pretty close.
And I guess what I think I put this here for is I just want to make a comment that. I've seen some people talk about. I've seen a couple people also in the industry be like, "Oh, Palworld is not a good game." Let me give some like kind of insight as to why I think Palworld maybe isn't the best game, obviously, but think about it this way: Palworld as a concept is super simple. What do? It's a survival game, and you catch Pokemon. You catch pals. You just explore the map and catch pals. It's a very simple concept, but it's very fun to play. Contrast that to Suicide Squad, where they're trying to put all these various like things into it. You like maneuver around like crazy, all this. Seems like a lot of money was put into the character models. Much bigger budget. I think the contrast I want to put out here is it doesn't really matter how pretty the game looks or the budget is. I do think this game looks nice, but this is also just a very fun game to play. It's got a lot of problems still. I do think it's buggy. I do think after you get past level 30 in the game, it starts to, I won't say become less fun, but you start to lose the allure of the map because you've explored most of it. So, like, some things do drop off, but what an interesting contrast between big budget, you know, big IP kind of game, huge map, looks gorgeous, all this stuff. And you get like a very simple concept, a very fun concept, no microtransactions yet, low barrier to entry on the fee. Like $30 is a low barrier to me. And on Game Pass, you can play it.
That's half price. That's half price.
Yeah, you can play with friends. There's no extra cost to playing with friends. You don't have to be, you don't have all these issues that a Suicide Squad has. They have bugs, but none of the bugs are game breaking to me. In the sense of, like, if they shut off the servers, I can't play anymore kind of idea that Suicide Squad had problems with. Or it auto-completed the map. Like those, there are bugs in this game, but they're like not game breaking enough for me to want to not play it. They did, like, I did, like, I don't know, like, there's something about this game that,
yeah, I mean, it just, like,
it's just kind of fun. That's it. That's all I wanted. I just want to have fun, and this hit all the right notes. It's fun.
This is what, like, one of the developers or something, I don't remember if it was a tweet or something, but they were asked about it and they said, like, yeah, we just wanted to make a fun game. Like, that's all.
It.
And it's like these big companies, these publishers are like, they just, like, I feel like they just micromanage the hell out of things. They're trying to squeeze every last dollar out of people, and they forget that, like, how about you just make a fun game, and then people will play it. Like, obviously, not every fun game is gonna blow up and go viral like freaking Palworld did. There's plenty of very good fun games that don't sell anywhere close. Actually, most games don't sell anywhere close to this. But that should be, like, number one. Let's make a fun game that the developer wants to make.
Right.
And that, yeah, again, that people will just, like, think is good and fun, and then people will just spread good word of mouth, including streamers, and, like, yeah, this game is fun, you should play it. Like,
exactly. You should still want to make money while making your game. I mean, like, that's still something you should want.
Yeah.
Like, no doubt they want to make money, but at the same time, apparently this team from interviews was like a very low experience team. They're using some base models from the engine. They're like, there's something about this game where you get into it and play it, and especially when you play with somebody, it's just really like, okay, there's nothing to worry about. I don't have to worry about a battle pass. I don't have to worry about a microtransaction. I don't have to worry about, oh no, this other arbitrary cost is going to come into play that I have to think about. It's just like, okay, I'm just going to boot this game up with my friend and play it, and we're just going to explore this map. And yes, there are some bugs we have to overcome, but not as bad as you think. This is like the stark difference between, this is a team that went into it going, we have this, like, idea for a project, let's just do it, and if we can make money from it, great. Suicide Squad, you can definitely tell that somebody walked into the dev studio and said, we need to make what's going to make us the most money? Let's make a Suicide Squad game. Can you just make that and make it a live service so we can make as much money as possible? And then the Rocksteady team was like, well, we don't really do that. But I guess we can try to make a Suicide Squad game for you with that in mind.
To me, it's like Rocksteady pitched their idea for their Suicide Squad game, and then WB was like, okay, cool, but you have to make it a live service game.
Cool, but it has to be live service because we want to make as much money as possible.
Yeah.
I guess that's, like, part of the reason why some games just don't work out. Like Marvel's Avengers, I think, would be the same idea. I'm sure when Marvel's Avengers was pitched and all that, they probably were going for something different than what they had, which is the live service part. At least I hope so. But I don't know. I know this game is going to have some DLC or something added on after the fact. I'm sure of it. I've heard their server costs are insanely high right now, so they obviously need to like they've made a lot of money, but eventually that money will run out. Kind of idea. They have to have some additional revenue come in at some point. And the numbers for player count will go down at some point. It's going to go down at some point. So I think it's just right now they've said their roadmap is just we're going to fix bugs. We're going to fix bugs, and then eventually we're going to get to PvP. We're going to expand the pals, the number of pals you can get, a bunch of other things. But it seems like their main focus has been fixing bugs, which they've been doing. They've put out patches pretty consistently with bug fixes. This is just a fun game. Like, I could see some people are like, they're just playing it and they're getting immersed in it. They're just having a good time. There really isn't much of a story in this game. There's lore, but heaven forbid I read the lore journal entries at this point in this game. It's just very fun. It's just such an interesting contrast to see like a Suicide Squad compared to this. And you can just see like this game had such a smaller percentage of budget, and you can just see like all the appeal with this game compared to a Suicide Squad. You can just see the difference in appeal. It's a different game, but it doesn't really matter. Like, there are just so many more appealing things with this game than Suicide Squad to me. There's just so many different reasons to want to play this compared to Suicide Squad. It's just amazing to me. So I think that's why I put it in between the reviews. Anyway, yeah, PAL's still a big release. Still, people are going crazy for it. People are making dedicated servers to, bring in huge lobbies of people to their mat worlds. It's really been incredible. So, good job, Palworld. I imagine this number is just going to keep going up, actually. So, as word continues to spread. But yeah, this is Pokemon levels. Should be interesting to see what happens with Pokemon.
Yep.
Okay, we can skip forward to Persona.